when the first time we did that 30 seconds, it felt like it went woof really
Yeah.
quick. This one felt like an hour. I'm like, all right, let's go. 30 seconds. Come on, it's not that long.
This is what it
Good
is.
morning, everybody. Good afternoon.
Morning,
If you're waking up over here on the East Coast, good morning to everybody over there on the West Coast, Central, and all the other areas.
I think
Big shout out to everybody out there.
High noon, everybody.
High noon. Yep. Pack your bowls, get your bongs going. Let's get ready to talk weed and anything you guys need to know. Ask. Please feel free to write it in the chat. We're here for you. Dr. High, we got to say some prayers for our friends up in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. They're going to get hit with that hurricane. It's going to be pretty bad, I heard.
Yeah, it's been all over the news here. I haven't had much chance to pay attention this morning, but yeah, it looks like we're
Pothead is like shitting her pants because and THC because they're right there on the water. Well, they're right there on the water. They're like you can throw a rock to it.
Well, they just got to worry about a storm surge, right? As long as
they're talking
hopefully there's enough elevation.
There's 12 to 15 foot waves coming.
Yeah.
120-mile-per-hour winds. She was talking Canadian numbers, so I don't know. That could
probably
be like
kilometers.
Yeah, that could have been like 70. I don't know what mile per hour winds.
Well, 70 kilometers, 120 kilometers an hour is probably close to 70 miles an hour.
All right, see, that was good. That was a good guess, huh? Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. This is my friend.
Morning, Garrett.
Lori and Garrett and Kelly and
in case just for Garrett sent me an image last night. He says, see if you can use that as your background tomorrow, Doc. And there it is.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is my background. You see it up here? This is
that's Lori's plants.
No, don't. She's freaking out already. She's like, I can't believe he put them up there because I told her I was doing it and she didn't believe me. And now they're there. She's like, those aren't mine. I don't know nothing about those.
They're pretty and green.
Yes, they're beautiful flowers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's up? What's new? How was your night? I heard you were moonlighting without me, you sucker.
Well, actually, that kind of came out of the blue yesterday afternoon. But I thought, what the hell? Let's get to know this guy a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know,
I mean, you're you don't have to. I didn't.
Yeah. So yeah, it was an hour and a half last night. We talked a little bit. We got some talk in about WTHC and a few other things. And if we want to expand, we have the opportunity.
All right. So how much are they paying us?
Oh, I think we're going to start off at around $1 million an episode, and then
we're going to go up from there.
Nice. No, not each. We'll have to negotiate that.
All right. 500 each. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
But we're going to.
No, that's awesome fucking news. I'm excited. I've been waiting all night, dancing, waiting. I'm like, all right. They went on a date this morning. They went out. They were hanging last night. Hopefully, their date went well this morning.
Yeah, we had a nice breakfast, and then we found a nice quiet place off the side of the road and smoked a joint
and spoke.
Yeah, and it's real good. So we're going to
our friend Pothead now. Hi, Pothead.
Right, we're going to, if we decide, we are going to become part of the Pace Radio Network curriculum and CBGA TV.
So does that mean we're TV stars then?
Well, we'll have 20 hours a week of content on there. We'll have our 10 hours, and then on Saturdays they replay the week's content, and apparently they have viewership all over the world. So could be pretty awesome.
I am so, you don't understand how excited I am. Like I said, last night I went to bed, I was tossing and turning. And then Mrs. Hippie came to me in the middle of my tossing and turning and said, did you know that Dr. High was on somewhere? And I was like, no, I'm sleeping, leave me alone. and then I woke up this morning and I saw our guest David Johnson on the Pace Radio Network post. Yep. I was like, oh, he was on there without me.
Well, I wasn't expecting it, that's for sure.
Well, now we have to pull Al up now.
There we go.
Get your ass up in here.
Well, we can do that. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. We definitely want to talk to Al in the near future. We have a couple good guests coming up.
Yeah,
The THNC, I want to talk to the owner. He said that he would be happy to come on. So
fantastic.
have him come on one day, this in the next week or so. Same thing with Al. We'll have Al up, absolutely. And there was somebody else that I wanted to have up. Who were we talking about that we said, oh, we should have them up? It would make
Well,
sense.
Al's got quite a backlist of previous guests that he's had on his network, and perhaps we'll get access to some of those to bring up and re-interview.
Absolutely.
Because that's one of the things we discussed uh, was that we can do something extremely successful here, really beneficial to a lot of people, extremely helpful. We just really need to start finding that group of individuals who want to come and share with us their journeys with cannabis.
The thing
So
is that all of our
everybody-
friends over here are just happen to be geniuses, and they know everything about weed already, so we don't have to
Yeah.
worry about them. We need
Well,
new people.
it's all the perspectives, right? Because cannabis is so individualized,
Right,
right?
every
It
grow
affects
is
everybody
different.
a little differently, right? So, the more
Hey,
people
Ashley.
to understand their experience, then the more beneficial it is for all of us because we just don't know who matches with who, right?
Right.
Whose experience would be conducive to somebody else's. My experience may be different from yours, might be different from Lori's, from Garrett's, from we all have different experiences with cannabis. So,
Yeah.
it's really good. How are you, Ashley? Thanks for joining us.
What about Rebel Brandon from TikTok?
What is Rebel Brandon?
I
Oh,
love him. That's my boy Brandon. Where is he?
cannabis patient.
Hi, Brandon. Are you here? I don't know what she's talking about. She's crazy. The girls have already lost their minds. They're both nuts this morning. It's too close. Curly Kell's having anxiety. Lori is just stoned out of her mind. I don't know what's going on. Brandon used to be a grower. Oh, yeah. I would love to have
Okay.
Brandon up. See, she's going to fill her car up her gas now,
Oh,
even
he's
though
excited.
we're not leaving for 2 more days. She's
He's
going.
excited for the weekend. Ashley
My
says she's
goodness.
been smoking since she was 16, and she's 33 and still going hard.
There you go,
I
Ashley.
know what you're up to. I started at 11, and I'm 56, and I'm still going hard too.
And I'm not quite as mature as him. I started at 13, and I'm going to be 53, so I'll have 40 years under my belt this year.
That's it.
Excuse me.
No, it's a good thing. Ashley, do you consume recreationally, or do you have a medical
card?
Is there a medical background to your consumption? Out of curiosity, I mean, you don't have to share anything you don't want to. Obviously, it's
Yep. You
curiosity.
don't want to break HIPAA. You don't got to break HIPAA.
No, it's not necessary at all. We're just always curious.
We are not real doctors. We are not real doctors.
Me too. Me too. I'm a recreational user, but I'm a big, big, big advocate for the medical side of things and for cannabis in general. So,
right. That's why we did this. That's why I started the radio show, because
I did get your morning picture, Lori, and I sent you back an article concerning the use of Miracle Grow on your plants. Miracle Grow is really not a good cannabis plant food. And Miracle Grow soil is actually even worse for your plant. Yeah, it's just
actually, it's absolutely amazing for depression. I mean, for an hour or two, you'll feel great, and then you have to smoke more. But where do you live, Ashley? You don't have to tell us the town or anything, but what state, so we can figure out whether you're legalized or medical illegal or.
Morning, Tina.
Is it recreational there? You can go anywhere and get good stuff. Or hi, Tina. Oh, hi.
Wow.
Are you coming to the concert, Ashley?
So Rec is coming.
Ooh. Rec this month. I mean, November, right?
Yep,
September, October, November. Like, you guys vote for Rec in November. Good luck. Make sure you vote.
Enough signatures on the.
Tell all your friends that vote red to go there and vote for the green anyway.
I think it'll pass in Ohio. I think there's great support for it. So,
well, it's good that they make it a either side. It's not a red or a blue side. It's you can go in and you vote for that whether you like it or you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. It doesn't have to be a red or blue thing.
Yeah.
It is a green thing.
And the beautiful thing is when you put amendments like this sort of thing onto a ballot, you may get a lot more younger voters who would abstain from, let's say, a regular type of political type of election, and you may find more of them, becoming active in this sort of thing because it's really in everybody's best interest, right?
Yeah,
So, a good thing.
My son
So
gets
let's
to
hope it
vote.
pass. And worst comes to worst, Ashley, you just got to take a trip over there to Michigan.
Right.
I spent a lot of time in Ohio growing up.
Oh, yeah, you did.
in Sandusky, because we used to go to Cedar Point all the time, because we could take the boat right across from Ontario and dock right there. And I had a buddy whose band used to play.
Booze cruise? Was it the
all the
booze
time.
cruise? You get a booze cruise across the lake?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't an organized boat. It was just
just
buddy's
somebody's
boat.
friend. Yeah, okay.
Go across,
I would love to take a booze cruise from Canada to Lake Michigan. Like woo-hoo, get loaded on the bay.
They used to have those when I was a kid. I worked in an amusement park that's in the middle of the Detroit River called Boblo Island.
There's a river, and then there's a amusement park in the middle of the river. You got to take a boat to get to the amusement park.
Yeah, whether you're from Canada or from the States, you had to take.
Oh my goodness, I want to go there.
Yeah, well, it's not an amusement park anymore. Now it's a luxury home site. Now there's big mansions out there for the wealthy. But
I still want to go there.
Yeah,
I want to own.
If you went there from Canada, it was probably a 15-minute boat ride to the island.
Ashley, thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry, Dr. High.
Yeah, no
thank
problem.
you for coming in and hanging out. We appreciate it. Please share it out. Tell your friends. You're here every day, Monday through Friday from 12 till 2-ish, after 2-ish. And we're here for your answers. Any questions you guys have, everything.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask.
That's what we're here for. We're here to help people understand the benefits of cannabis and
anything. We're going to be making our own CBD next week.
Yeah. We shall. But yeah, they used to do a booze cruise from Detroit because it took about 3 hours from Detroit to get the riverboat down to the island. So, boy, I'll tell you, people would arrive off that boat rip roaring and ready to go. Yeah, I worked there for one summer when I was 17.
I don't want a booze cruise now that I think about it. I don't even drink booze.
Yeah, I don't drink. It's no interest.
Yeah, I want a smoking cruise.
Yeah.
Where you can just sit there and do dabs at the bar.
Yeah, and I don't really.
I'll take another gram of GG4, please. Thank you.
Lori says, talk loud. She's jumping in the shower.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, we got to do commercials already soon. I got to set them up. You keep talking.
Goes fast.
It does.
Kitchen of dinner.
So I'm still excited. I want to hear more about Al. Is he a handsome fella?
Absolutely.
Put you on the spot there, huh? Absolutely.
I don't spend a lot of time
checking out fellas.
Yeah, it's kind of rare for me to do that.
You were thinking you weren't checking them out, huh?
Yeah, Well, maybe when he went up to the counter to pay the bill.
Maybe his ass, when he was at the counter.
But it was kind of funny, right? Because I think I told you that he invited me to go kayaking on the weekend with him.
Right. You did tell me that, yeah.
And I declined, right? So when
you guys going to be best friends now? Are you going to hang out all the time? Well, now you're moving away.
I doubt that because in 2 weeks I won't be
you're
around
sad now. You guys are like, we could be best friends, and now we're moving away.
Well, there will opportunities will present because in Montreal there's a fairly strong cannabis culture, and they have no representation there.
Right, and that's going to be you and me.
So, yeah, there's going to be opportunities there to. Bring in guests from the area. Hopefully, I can work with some of the people out on the First Nations territory, Oka.
Right. I don't know what the hell you just said, but right.
Well, it's
an area somewhere, the First Nation something.
Yeah, the res there is called Oka. OKA.
Okay, that's where I got lost. Oka.
And they have a pretty good culture there. So, hopefully we can get ingrained in there and expand what we're doing, right, with a larger pool of guests. And, I still have, because I lived in Montreal for 20 years.
Wait a second. Let me stop you for a second here because this is kind of important. And then we got to do commercials. But so are we're not giving him any of our older stuff? We're going to just be live?
Well, we discussed that, right, because of the time slot thing. But right now they currently have nobody that fills the 12 to 2 time slot.
Oh.
So
Monday through Friday.
And we have the ability to stream to 5 locations, correct?
Me and you?
Yeah.
Yeah, at least, I think.
Yeah. 5 or 8. So
8, I think. Maybe 8 sounds
well,
right.
if we can do 8, that's good too, because we'll be able to stream right into CBGA TV right from there. And then what they do is we would do our live 2-hour day, and then on Saturdays they use Saturdays to, if there's an event and they're covering an event live, then that takes
Right.
precedence. But when that's not occurring, what they do is they take the content from the week and they rerun it on a Saturday. So we'll actually generate a lot of content for them that'll be valuable. So
Right. Like, I'm going to the Muck Sticky thing, and I plan on having a whole bunch of footage from that
yeah,
that they might be able to play up in there if they want, like that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. So I
'Cause
mean,
I'll be
there's
dancing
things
with
for
Muck
us to.
Sticky on the ground down here. I'm not getting up on the stage. You don't have to worry about that.
That's it. Today was just to kind of understand what
Yeah, it was the first
how
meet
we
and
could
greet
fit into the system
in their
and what.
world.
Yeah, exactly. How we could integrate and collaborate together to bring awareness to a larger audience, basically.
Yeah,
And
basically, it says that our times wouldn't change as of right now, but anything's possible. You never know. But
well,
right
that's
now,
it.
it looks like, well, Garrett asked.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things we'll need to do. We'll have to put in an announcement for Pace Radio and some things like that, right?
Oh,
And
I'll
we'll have
put
to
them
do
on here. I'll put
um,
Pace Radio
in the
on
commercials. We may have to include a couple of the sponsors they already have, but
Absolutely.
nothing that's really going to be detrimental
Detrimental.
to our process, right? So,
Yeah.
it's and funnily enough, one of their sponsors
I was
watched
looking at them.
watched the episode last night. Well, I was on with them, and I got a message through my DoktorHigh site this morning. They run a hydroponic store here, but they also have a clinic attached to it that helps people match with doctors and get their medical prescriptions and certifications.
I should probably tell you something before you go any further.
Yeah,
I've already mentioned something to TH&C about your idea of being a online, like, I don't know, they weren't against, they didn't shake their head no, some sort of like, if they want to have advice, they can hit you up, and right there you'll be
yeah,
live. So that's already been brought to their attention, and they are interested. So
yeah. These things can be done because really that's where my knowledge would be the most beneficial. Would be one-on-one, basically consultation with
no,
patients trying to develop
most
a care plan.
beneficial right here with me.
Well, this is beneficial, but what I'm getting at, right, is
Yeah,
that
I know.
some people are not comfortable to disclose their situation publicly.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it is
Wants to
medical.
tell a
So
Isn't what the doctors use puppets though? Tell
puppet.
me your
Al asked
problem.
me that today. He said, now the hippie's a puppet, right? I'm like, yeah. He said, are you a puppet too? And I'm like, not on the show. No, I'm not a puppet.
Only to
too.
my wife and to the government.
So yeah, that's it. So I said
TH&C.
we play off each other well, right? Because I'm the straight guy and hippie's the fun guy, and
Yeah,
it all
I
works
think
out well.
so.
Not the fun guy, but you're the
funny guy.
You're the funny guy. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyway, we got to do commercials. We'll be right back. You're hanging with the Hippie and DoktorHigh.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out
TH&C
there
loves this
and be
idea.
an all-star caregiver.
I don't know if that's
It's
the
up to you.
boss or if that's
So what are you going to
Pothead.
do?
It might be the
You got to go
boss.
grocery shopping.
For me, the more people I can
emotionally
get
and
help when
physically.
it comes to
You
the
gotta dig
cannabis
deeper.
I
journey,
can talk to
Driving
you.
physical
You
therapy,
can't talk to
doctor's
me.
appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy.
I can't hear
No, you
nothing.
won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. I'm going to go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that
It's
this
the
is the reality
boss.
in our country. But
Hi,
it's
boss.
something that Feeding
How are you,
America
Damien?
is working to change.
We're gonna have you on the
Each
show
year, the
soon,
Feeding
boss.
America Network
How are you, Robert?
rescues
How's
millions
everything over there in the
of
UK today?
that would have gone to waste.
Hi, Robert.
This food is then
You're gonna have a
provided
chat with your mom
and children in need.
about
Being
cannabis,
healthy should
Robert?
be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Bang it loud. Every time I come through, no, I'm smoking loud. Purple clouds. When I come to town, just know I shut it down. Bang it loud. Every time I come through, no, I'm smoking loud. Purple clouds. When I come to town, just know I shut it down. I'm a piece of shit, getting crossed out just like Jesus did. Everything I spit might as well add it to the rhetoric. Talk is cheap and what you preach don't make you heaven sent. Words of wisdom, but you won't listen, so face the consequence. I'm a real one. Come and listen to a G. Born in 1999. Fuck you know about harmony. Got it in my bones, flowing Flamero while on the beat. Sheesh, freak on the leash, you can't compete with my heat. Got these kernels popping like popcorn cause I'm planting my seeds. Now you understand that I'm always determined. Every day I keep learning, weed always burning, but that's just the shit that I've been dealing with.
Oh, Kelly's here. Thank goodness.
Give it a little bit.
You're
Bring it loud every time I
back from getting the gas.
Purple clouds. When I come to town, just know I shut it down. Bang it loud every time I come through. No,
We knew you were here, you weirdo.
when I come to town, just know I shut it down. Verse 2, switch it up, feel about
Oh, I
that.
guess
Fill
I
my
must
cup,
do it all in
carry
my
so
own.
many rocks on me, feel like a
I
tiny
know you've
truck.
been
It's the
here.
type
What
of
are you
shit they
talking
seen
about?
before, but they ain't seen enough.
Why are you right? I'm
Tell me
here.
the whole town always
My
like
God.
Coulda guessed it, pothead, trying to spread a
They said pothead.
360, no scope in the mansion, never stressing, not to mention when I
This guy's singing about you, pothead.
no question. Who you know do it better, putting words together, daily trendsetter, maximizing each letter. How is he so clever? Goddamn, I don't know. I ain't done this before. Got to let it go. Fucking on a beat, finna blow a low. Hey, bang it loud. Every time I come through, no, I'm smoking loud. Purple clouds. When I come to town, just know I shut it down. Bang it loud. Every time I come through, no, I'm smoking loud. Purple clouds. When I come to town, just know I shut it down.
WTHC, good afternoon, everybody. 12:22 over here on the East Coast. It is Thursday, the 14th, and it is 63 degrees and sunny here in the beautiful Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. I want to give a big shout out to everybody out there on Live 365 and tune in, and of course, Dr. High for being here, and all you dudes and dudettes out there hanging out over here on Facebook and YouTube. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Please feel free to write your questions for Dr. High or me in the chat there. Go ahead. Dr. High, what's going on, dude? Do you have any stories? Because I didn't look up any stories.
Not really. I've actually been studying some new implementation from the government on preventive control plan for cannabis extracts and edibles. So this is how Canada treats the industry, and this is probably not a bad way to look at it, right? So what Canada wants to do is for all processing license holders. So in Canada, there are different types of licenses you can get in the cannabis industry. You can get a medical cultivation license. You can get a medical sales license. You can get a cultivation license, or you can get a processing license. And for processing, you don't actually have to cultivate. You can buy cultivated cannabis and then turn it into other products. So now what they're doing is they're implementing a preventative control plan. So basically what it says is processing license holders who conduct activities related to cannabis extracts or edible cannabis are required to prepare, keep, maintain, and implement a preventative control plan. A preventative control plan is a written document that demonstrates how hazards to the cannabis or anything used as an ingredient in the production of your cannabis extract or edible cannabis are identified and prevented, eliminated, or reduced to an acceptable level. So we're talking about alcohol, if that's used in the extraction process, we'd be talking about butane,
Right.
or propane, if that's part of the process, and to ensure that it's all removed. But what they basically have to do is, I don't know if you have the same thing in the States, but here you have what they call MSDS, material data safety sheets, that have to be included in your business that identify hazardous chemicals and products that are in the environment that could be dangerous, right? So basically, they're implementing that type of strategy for record keeping when it comes to concentrates and edibles, so that there's full transparency over the products used, and that they can ensure that the testing regimen is good. So, that's a positive thing we have there that's going on. So we like
That's good.
that. For
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, that's a good thing to have, and it's not gonna hopefully, that'll be implemented immediately when they do what they need to do over here, finally.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some changes coming in the Canadian industry soon. That the idea was when they implemented the regulations initially for legalization in 2018, that they were going to leave those initial regulations in place for 5 years untouched. And then they were going to reevaluate after 5 years and see what adjustments
So, there
should
could
be
be
made.
some major adjustments coming in the near future.
Yeah, they spent I don't even know how many months, 3 or 4 months last year, compiling information from people in the industry, right? Able to submit suggestions and reasonings and things like that. So, they've looked at it, and we're going to start to see some implementation of new regulations. I think sadly they're not going to address some of the most important ones, like taxes on medical marijuana, because basically here, tobacco, alcohol, they have what they call a sin tax. So they say that because these are technically vices, right? Smoking, drinking, and cannabis, they're taxed more heavily than your regular products you get in the grocery store. But it's really an unfair situation that this tax is also applying to medical cannabis patients when they purchase. And really, you shouldn't be paying taxes on your medicine. Although in Canada, interestingly enough, you can write off those expenses on your taxes at the end of the year. So you can actually receive a tax credit for that amount if you file on your taxes the amount that you've purchased. The only problem is that in order to claim that medical expense, it has to reach a certain percentage of your income to be an actual deduction. So, whether people actually get to that or not, it's hard to say. But, imagine somebody with a 5 gram a day prescription that's not cultivating. That adds up. Even in Canada, I mean, 5 grams will cost you, $20 or $25.
Oh,
So,
I wish.
yeah, I mean, but it adds up, right? At the end of the day, if you got to spend that each and every day, you're $200 a week, $175 a week. So now you're like $700 a month. And when you extend it over the year, it's $8,500. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But I know in the States, you can
Oh,
spend
I know.
$8,500 on 1 month worth of prescription
I
medication.
could spend 8,500 in one day. I mean, it would last me a couple days, but I could easily spend it.
Yeah. So
Anyway, that's good. But that's good. I mean, they need to regulate it, and then we need to figure it out. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. But we got to get it done. It needs to be taken care of, especially for the quality of life. That's the most important
well,
thing.
that's it. And right now,
The people that are sick, laying in the nursing homes and the hospitals, are veterans, are PTSD survivors. Anybody like that should have it. Just
yeah,
like what's her face was just saying over here, or she uses it for depression.
Yeah.
It's an automatic. I mean, I mean, unless you're allergic to it, right? I mean, you've said people are allergic.
well,
But
yeah, I mean,
I
some
don't
people
believe
just
that
don't
shit.
tolerate it, right? Some
Yeah.
people, there's a percentage of the population for which cannabis is very unpleasant for them.
Our friend Fulton Block's Most Wanted. We play his music here on
Yeah.
WTHC.
So,
He unfortunately has come across that. But, I was thinking, Dr. High, what if you are cleaning your bong or you don't clean your bong often enough? Could you get sick from the in there? or if you're using something not proper to wash your bong or clean your bong, could you be making yourself sick from using something inappropriate?
Well, the most important thing is if you do clean your bong and use a bong cleaner, to really make sure that it's rinsed extremely well
Well,
afterwards.
I'm not saying Fulton, but I'm saying, everybody, anybody.
Yeah.
Some people aren't the sharpest people in the world. Some people be putting the bleach and
Right.
ammonia in there and be like, yeah, maybe that'll get it out.
Yeah, no, I mean,
You know,
when
you know?
when I ran the extraction equipment, it wasn't easy to clean with just alcohol with 99.9 isopropyl. So we used to actually use acetone, which is nail polish remover, basically, right? But we'd buy unscented acetone,
Right,
and we would first clean with acetone, and then with isopropyl alcohol,
right.
and then clean it out from there,
Right.
right? So
So
between the
say,
combination of the two, we were able to achieve a perfect surface once again. And
all right. So say you have a bong now, and I got one over there.
yeah,
Actually, it's over there now. But it's, it sits for a day or two. I dump the water out. I clean it the best I can with some hot water, but I don't really go upon cleaning it the right way. And
Yeah.
then I use it, and I keep doing that for months and months, and the shit's building up in there, and it's getting
well,
gross.
bacteria, right?
Right. Well, I
Bacteria
don't
would
know.
form it.
I mean, is that a possibility that you could be getting that sickness from that? Like that.
I
I'm
don't
not
think
really allergic. I'm getting sick because I'm not cleaning my utensils
I think
appropriately.
it's possible. I think it's a possibility, especially if you're not changing your water.
Right. If you're using the
Frequently,
same
right?
water 2 or 3 days, you're like, fuck
Yeah.
it. I don't feel like getting up. I'm lazy. I got an indica in me. I don't feel like going to change my
Because
water.
inevitably you're pulling some plant material into there.
Right.
And as that plant material degrades in your
Degrades
bong
or
water,
evaporates.
bacteria will become present. And yeah, it's possible.
Well, I've
I
seen,
don't know
like,
if
I've
it's
left my
bacteria,
bong
but it's
laying for a week or so. Like, I stopped using it, and I
Yeah.
forgot to clean it out, and I came back a month later, and that shit had mold. I threw the bong away because
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try it again, but mold grew in there. Like, you
Yeah.
could see, like,
And
tree
there's an
mold
indication
and
right there that there's something going on, right? Because
right.
bacteria will create
So
that.
and like I said, I'm not picking on Fulton or anything or anybody for that matter, but in that case, is it something? And I'm not saying he doesn't clean. Obviously, I hope he cleans his bong and everybody takes care of their stuff appropriately. But make sure you're taking care of your stuff appropriately because
Yeah.
you can get sick from stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to. I've
Even
seen
your bowls, right?
right.
Because like one of the worst, not one of the worst things, but something that is a carcinogen that we eat on a regular basis. If you're a steak eater and you barbecue your steak, when you get
All
that
that burnt
blackened
black
crust on
poofy
there,
stuff on there. Yeah,
that's carcinogen. You know what I
it's
mean? That's
poison.
carcinogenic. So
Poison.
imagine your dirty bowl has all that black resin and tar on the outside. If you're not cleaning your bowl and you're continuously putting flame to it, then inevitably some of that is being picked up in the smoke that you're
Wait a
pulling
second.
through, right?
Wait a second. Wait a second. Slow down now there, bucko. I gotta ask you a question. All right, so the resin in the reclaim, not really reclaim, but the resin that you get in a bowl, is
Yeah.
that bad to smoke?
Well, it's already charred material, right? It's
Yeah,
already
but
been charred. There's no
it's kind
value
of
in it.
gooey. It gets me high. Don't tell me there's no value.
There is no value in it because the THC and CBD and all the other cannabinoids from the plant are gone when you achieve a temperature of 420 degrees. The lighter itself, the flame
Dude,
coming out of a lighter is about 700 degrees.
dude, but you've never smoked resin like leftover, like you were when you were younger, when you were a teen, and you were like, you
Maybe when I
scraped
was a
your
teen,
bowl, and you scraped your bowl, and you were like, I gotta smoke something, and
right.
this is gonna smoke, and
But,
you didn't get high. Come on, I
but
get higher off
when
some
I
of that
was a
shit.
teen, I didn't have the wherewithal or the intellect that I do now, or the ability to understand the
Right, of
potential
course. Right, so
negative
I'm asking,
consequences.
of course, now I'm saying, alright, so I shouldn't really be smoking that shit, but don't tell me it don't work, because I definitely have gotten high off of that.
Well,
I have a
perhaps you have
I
gotten
have a
high from it.
container over here that I keep just in case when I run out of flour and I got nothing, I break off a chunk of that little black resin ball, and I put it in my bowl, and I light it a couple times, and it starts to burn appropriately, and I catch a little buzz, and it works until I can get to the store or wherever I need to go.
Well,
And raise the hands out there. I don't lie. You guys know you're doing it. I've seen people doing it. Dr. High is trying to play it like he ain't never done it, but
well, I mean, I don't remember ever doing that.
well, I
But-
mean, but you were a grower and you had plenty of flour. You never had to most of your life. You pretty much had, you know.
I've gone
always
through the
had-
dry points, especially when I was young, because we had two
Right.
seasons, right? We had weed season and then we had hash season. And sometimes there was a lag between the two. You know what I mean? So, but I don't recall ever scraping out my cannabis pipes to resmoke.
Is this guy crazy?
Which one?
You.
Why?
Because I mean it's like an American thing. Like you
Right.
smoke your resin, man. You gotta smoke your. I mean, if you don't have to, you have the ability to have your weed and have it at all times. But some
Right.
of us aren't filthy rich like you, Dr. High.
Well, I ain't filthy rich. You can bet on that.
We have to scrape our bowl and smoke what's in there, man, and hope that we get a buzz.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks. I don't want to smoke it. I would much rather smoke flour or, you know, a lot of other things, but
Lori says she smoked. What did she smoke all week? Resin?
she smoked her resin all
resin?
week. Yeah.
You love the taste.
It's
That's
a
it.
live resin. Yeah. That's
Listen,
what we call it.
Well,
resin.
live resin is one thing which I'd smoke all the time, but
That's
know.
a live resin too. It's just not
But you
your
know-
resin.
there's a product you can use in your bongs to be preventative about the resin buildup inside. It's called Res Block. It's a liquid, and
Okay.
you just
Kind of
simply,
like Rain-X for bongs.
yes, very similar to that, right? You just put 6 drops in with your bong water, and no resin will accumulate inside the bong.
That's cute. But then
But that doesn't do anything for your bowl.
what am I supposed to smoke when I don't have any weed because all the resin went away?
Well, the resin you're taking out, I would assume, is in the bowl, not actually in the bong.
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah, I never get the resin from my
Oh.
bong. That's gross.
You know,
But I can show you right now. I got a container over here with probably a half ounce of fucking resin in it.
wow.
One of my bowls broke, and I was like, "Oh, nice! Look at this."
Like, really, you should be cleaning.
I'll
your
be
bowl
I'll
every
be
time you
using
drink your bowl.
this. And now
And
I
you know, the thing is if you keep clean smoking accessories, you always have a nice flavor of cannabis as opposed to
so
the
I'm
residue
supposed to
of
clean my
previous smoking.
bowl every time I smoke. Who's got time for that?
No, but when you clean your bong. So really, you know, a bong should be clean just like a glass that you drink from, or
Every
a plate
time
that
you
you
drink
eat
out of
off.
it, you should clean it every time you smoke.
Not every time, but you should clean it every day or two, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I usually do. You're scaring me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I should smoke and then go out and dump out the ice and throw it away and wash it
No.
out and clean it and bring it back in and smoke again in an hour.
No, the only thing that I would clean every single time would be a nail if I was dabbing. Right? So my dab nail I would clean every single time between hits
How? Why?
because it gets a nice clean hit every single time, right? Because the
Oh,
oil that's left over.
Doesn't the torch burn off anything that's left over? Like I know that if I stay in my nectar collector too long, like when I'm nectar collecting, if I
goes
stay
clear.
too long, the flame will be big on the next time I go to light my flame on the torch.
Yeah.
You know, usually I'll do two or three hits in a row, right? So the first one, and then I'll put the flame will still be going. So I take it right up and I put it right back up into the torch flame. And
Yeah.
if I stayed too long in there, which means my nail cooled off, then I have residue from the
That'll catch fire.
from the wax, right? And then that goes on fire and it pisses me off because I know I went too long, but at the same time, everything's burnt off now and I'm good to go. I don't clean
See,
my nail.
With a nectar collector, that's a little bit different than
Oh,
a
okay.
dab
There's
nail.
there's a different nail for dabbing. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
I've
that
never-
goes
I've
inside
never
the
really
dab rig,
dabbed. Is that thing that pen thing that you drop? I mean, the little metal thing you use to drop the stuff in there.
No, that would just be a dab tool.
Okay, that's a dab.
So
tool.
what I'm talking about is the actual bucket where you put the dabs inside a dab rig, right? So like a
Oh,
ball.
okay.
If you
Oh,
take
yeah,
out
all
your
right.
bowl and you put in a nail,
Yeah.
Then-
That's a nail. That's called a nail.
yeah, they call it a
I'm gonna
nail.
call that like a bowl of just for
Well,
dabs.
no, because originally when they first started making them, they actually looked like glass nails. So they had a glass piece that came down and then a flat head like a nail with a little dish in the center
And
of
then
it,
you
which
would
was
drop
where
it
you would
right
actually
there.
dab, right? And
I gotcha.
you had like a globe that would go over a light bulb type
Yeah.
thing that you
Yep.
would put over
I've
top of
seen them. I actually owned one at one point, but I didn't know what the
Yeah.
fuck it was, so I
But
threw
that
it
was
out.
the initial stuff, and then they went from there into titanium. They started making the titanium nails, the metal ones.
That's what I got.
Yeah, they're okay.
I like
for-
that better than the glass ones.
Well, they're okay kind of for the beginners, right? As you learn about heating things up, and that you don't do any damage to a titanium nail. But eventually, that titanium can start to release the titanium oxide when you're smoking after you've been using it for a long time, when it becomes discolored and gets that blue and red and pink colors in there.
Oh, am I
If you don't-
dying?
Well, if you're going to use a titanium nail, there are different ones from different places. Like there's Chinese titanium, there's titanium for different places and different qualities of titanium, right? And some aren't as likely to leach as others are. But titanium is a good learning place. But from there, ultimately, where you'd want to be is in quartz and be using a quartz nail, which is like thick glass, 4 millimeter thick glass. And the reason you clean them every time you use them, and it's really simple, you finish your dab and you use a cotton swab, like a real one, a Q-tip, so that you got a cardboard stock and 100% cotton. And as soon as you're done your dab, you simply take the Q-tip and wipe out the inside of the bowl. It'll absorb that additional oil. And then the next time you do your dab, as you're heating up the nail, you'll get a slight brown film. And as soon as that brown film disappears, your nail is hot enough for your next dab. So you can judge it for temperature too. Now, you can clean your nail just with the torch. So you don't use the Q-tip, you just use the torch to heat it up. And then it'll start to turn black. Then you could end up with a flame inside, but it'll eventually burn off. But when you use that technique, you end up pitting the inside of the quartz nail from the temperature in there and burning off the excess oil. So you shorten the life of that nail. And that nail's, $40. A lot of places you're going to spend on that, just that one piece. So you don't want to have to replace something like that like every month, right? So if you take care of them, not only do you get a much more enjoyable experience because it's a fresh flavor every single time, but you extend the life of your equipment, right? Therefore, you don't have to spend any more money. So, it's not just a better quality of hit, it is a better way to treat your glass.
Very interesting. I didn't know any of that shit. Thank God you're here.
It's all trial and error for me. Like I learned from doing, and that was it. I started off with titanium nail. That was the first nail I used.
Yeah, but you kind of called me an amateur, so I'm not a big fan of that. I got to get
You're
off.
not dabbing, right? You're not using a dab rig on a daily basis.
Never.
So
I
what does
think
that
I've
make
done-
you?
It makes me a professional nectar collector.
See, the nectar collector is a little bit different because you're just heating a very small piece on the end, whether it be titanium or quartz glass,
Right.
and then you're pulling through. So
And
it doesn't require as much heat.
Does that hit any different than off of a dab rig? I mean, what's the difference? You got little ballies that go around inside your dab rig. Woohoo!
Well, you can use them, and you can use a carb cap also.
Yeah, but I
With-
mean, am I
with-
getting a quality hit from my nectar collector, or is my hit
yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
is my hit gonna be better because I'm using a fancy dab rig?
Like that's debatable. I wouldn't say that would be factual that the dab rig would give you a better hit than a nectar collector. If anything, they could be equivalents.
Right.
To
So
each
what is
other.
the difference? Why do I have to be looked down upon because I'm a nectar collector?
Well, who looks down upon that?
You punk! You just call me an amateur.
I called you an amateur with a dab rig, and you
Well,
are
I don't dab rig at all. I'm not an amateur. I've never done it. I have
non-existent.
I'm a non-existent dab rigger. I'm a professional nectar
There you
collector.
go.
I don't understand. I'm a professional. I've been working very hard on my my nectar collecting abilities.
I think,
Damien,
All right. So what's Danny got to say here? This looks interesting. Have you heard about medical personnel testing which cannabinoids are in individual systems and introducing a cannabinoid regimen to the cannabinoid system as a treatment through a drip or such to combat whichever ailment they are trying to mitigate involving nerve or neuro-related ailments?
I want an
That's
IV.
that's a complex question for sure.
I want an IV drip.
I have not seen any research that would specifically address that question.
Hey, hold on a second. Can we address that question after the commercials?
Yeah. I guess it is time. So yeah,
we'll be right back after these. I have them set up, so it's like we should do them. We'll be right back, and we'll answer that question in a second. You're hanging with the Hippie and Dr. High on WTHC Radio.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today, I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Kelly.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician.
She's washing her old bras.
Her knowledge was.
Well, then he's going to know that they weren't worn. They're going to have that, they got to have that.
Especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed.
Warm skin.
Once, this woman put back together
wear
a teenage girl's broken heart,
15
which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear
Yeah,
hug.
I understand the question, David.
Masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home.
That's it. Don't wash her. Don't let her go that way.
I still call her mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Say bye-bye to bottled water. Holistic Health Water has certified medical-grade water ionizers that make 7 types of water, including healthy alkaline. There's a 5-micron filter that lasts up to a year, and each machine lasts 25 to 30 years. Simply attach to your faucet or install under your sink. Even get a mineral spa unit for your shower. Go to ownyourwater.org to get a free ebook. Plus, pay for any machine in full and get an extra filter free. Change your water and change your life. Ownyourwater.org.
Discover the natural path to wellness at Tailored Herbs and Concentrates.
Herbs?
With a passion for holistic health, we are your trusted source for premium herbs and concentrates.
Wait a minute, do they have weed?
Our dedicated team is here to guide you on your wellness journey. Open 7 days a week, 10 to 10, ensuring you have access to what you need when you need it most. Tailored Herbs and Concentrates is located
Their pot
2941 Highway 11, Burnt Church, New Brunswick.
That's you.
Canada. If you need assistance anytime,
I need assistance. I need weed.
just call 506-871-4299. Tailored Herbs and Concentrates.
Where all the potheads go.
Where all the potheads go. WTHC, Tailored Herbs and Concentrates. I wish I could go there. Damn it, I'm too far away. But if you're in that area, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, go get your weed now, because I heard there might be a hurricane coming. Get your asses over there. Buy all the weed, because we don't want to lose it. We don't want to go chase it.
Forget about running to the grocery store for water and toilet paper. Run down to THC for your supplies, so that when you're shut in for 3 days, you're enjoying yourself.
Sure you get there.
You know,
and we got to get it all out of there, because we don't want it to float away.
Well, you know, the beautiful thing about cannabis is you can soak it in water and dry it out, and it's lost none of its potential.
Salt water?
Oh, I don't know about salt water, but
ocean is not going to come up and clean its water before it gets up
that's
there.
True.
It's not going to run through a filter.
when it dries out, it'll look like it's got a lot more crystal on it, from all the salt
Right,
impact.
Damien.
You know,
Damien. Is it Damien?
Damien. Yeah.
Damien. Right,
All right.
Damien. Listen to the professionals. We know. Get there now and get all the weed.
So, to your question, Damien, I've not heard about medical personnel doing this specifically, but I am aware of a company in the States that is currently developing a DNA test which will identify the cannabinoids which are most likely to respond well with your particular DNA. So there is something like that in the works. But I don't think it's on the market yet. And I should know pretty soon because the dispensary that I have online is actually the company that's developing this technology. So
that's cool.
I'm just waiting to see it actually come, but they're going to be able to do a DNA test like 23andMe or like Ancestry or any of those, but they're going to be able to look at the cannabinoids that would work best for your particular system. So whether it's going to be
it's like, is there like there's missing cannabinoids and they'll be able to fill the void with the right ones, or is it just
I don't really know, and I'm skeptical a little bit on top of it simply because DNA, like they just did something recently, a test of these companies that you can send your pet's DNA to, and they'll identify your pet's genetics, right? Your cat or your dog or whatever it is. And
it's a dog.
One of the news outlets, I think they were in Canada, took DNA samples of one dog or a couple of dogs, and they sent it out to like 6 different companies that do it, and they got different results from each company.
Well,
right?
If you can't tell your dog is a dog, then you got your
Well,
own
they could tell it was a dog, but they couldn't say like it's a mix between like a lab and a boxer or whatever it would be, right? And that's really what the DNA test should be able to determine.
I can't tell if this is a dog or a cat.
So I'm not sure whether the system that's coming out is going to be like a really scientifically, medically viable thing, or if it's another grab in the industry to try and to pull money out of people. I don't know. That's yet to be seen. But then to the second part of the question, where you talk about introducing a cannabinoid regimen to the cannabinoid system as a treatment through a drip or such to combat whatever ailment. Now, I don't think they'll ever be able to do a drip for cannabis simply because it's not water soluble. The only way that cannabinoids are truly soluble is in fat or alcohol, neither of which
I love alcohol.
Well, you can't really use them intravenously, right? It has to be something that's prepared with distilled water, right? It has to be able to infuse into there. Now, they talk about water-soluble cannabis, but it's actually a play on words because there is no such thing. You have nanoemulsion, which is what they consider to be water-soluble, right? Because you can put it into your water, you can put it into soda, you can put it into different carriers of that nature. But basically what they're doing is the extraction is done and then put into an oil. That oil is then put into water, and they use a suffocant to create the emulsification. They're kind of like mayonnaise, right? Because oil and water don't mix. But when you put in the egg, because the vinegar is the water component, the oil is the oil component. When you add the egg, it allows everything to
congeal
come together as an emulsification. But cannabis isn't the same. So what they call water-soluble cannabis isn't truly soluble. It is a suspension. So it allows the cannabinoid to stay suspended in that water solution so that you can ensure accurate dosing. A 10 milligram dose will stay a 10 milligram dose. But it's not.
And then you were saying something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just
because we were talking about the IV drip that day, and you were saying that in that liquid, you're still going to have particles and things.
Yeah, exactly.
Put that into your veins because I want an IV drip,
and it's going to be oil anyway, and your body wouldn't absorb it. Right? That's the problem with cannabis oils is that the absorption rate is so low that it's almost not. I hate to use the word ineffective, but it's a real drain on your pocketbook because if you're buying 1,000 milligrams of THC in oil, right? So you're buying a 30 milliliter bottle that's got 1,000 milligrams THC in there. That 1,000 milligrams of THC, if you consume that whole bottle, your body might absorb anywhere between 40 milligrams and 200 milligrams.
I have a
So,
friend.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, so I was going to say, out of that 1,000 milligram dose, basically somewhere between 800 and 960 milligrams are passing straight through your system without absorption.
That's horrible. That's
Yeah,
horrible.
but it's real.
It's waste. What a waste.
It is waste.
There's cookies. I was going to talk about them. We got to talk to them. They are also, from what I can tell, it looks like they make edibles and bakables and stuff like that we
Yeah.
might be interested. So we would love to have you up on the show sometime and have come up and talk to us about your business and about that kind of stuff. So,
technique and dosing and how you put these
please.
together, right, to ensure that you have even distribution throughout the recipe. And because that's another issue you encounter sometime with edibles, is not getting even distribution, right? You make your cookies and you're trying to dose them all at 25 milligrams or 50 milligrams, but then you might get one that's 75 and one that's 25, or you know what I mean? Like there can be, and especially when you work.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I have a friend who made these beautiful bacon roses dipped in chocolate, and they're 1,200 milligrams each.
Okay.
What am I absorbing out of that? Is that where you're saying I'm not going to absorb 1,200 because of the?
Yeah, because they're using the fats, right? So they're either using the bacon fat, or they're using the fats inside the chocolate, which would be butter or milk fat. You know what I mean? So as long as you have a fat, you can infuse with cannabinoids.
Right. I mean, they're beautiful and they're gorgeous.
And
the price is right. I mean, the price is perfect. But
well, that's an indication too, right there, right? Because as you know, in the States, it's very expensive. So a low price point is something that you would want to look at too, right? To say, how can they afford to sell me this for that price? So James, for chemo treatment, and in fact to help. Okay, so Damien says, say for example, we know the strain Purple Kush works best for chemo treatment, and in fact to help treat cancer itself, because the phytocannabinoids that make up the strain Purple Punch are also best. Right. Well, that's what it comes down to, Damien, is that it's about really, it's not just about cannabinoids, but it's also about terpenes and flavonoids, because cannabinoids, to the extent that they have been studied, have been found to do certain things, right? Like deal with inflammation, have antispasmodic qualities, anti-anxiety qualities, anti-nausea, things like that. But also the terpenes, which have been much more widely studied because they're available in sources outside of cannabis, such as lemons and pine trees and hops and all these kind of things. So they know that these terpenes also have the potential for different types of therapeutic use, and flavonoids too. So when we get into cannabis, it's the entourage effect that really creates the magic. It's the combination of cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids that really promote that overall healing. So it stands to reason that certain strains would be best suited for specific conditions, because let's say with chemotherapy, you're dealing with a few things, right? You're dealing with nausea, you're dealing with appetite loss, you're dealing with sleep disturbance. So, when you can find strains that address those things, well, homeostasis, that's what the ECS is all about. The endocannabinoid system is about balance, and it works hard to ensure that the systems in your body stay in balance, right? So I reposted an article a couple of weeks ago that actually talked about the endocannabinoid system, but they used a different word to describe it. They were saying the ECS could really be known as, and I wish I could remember the phrase that they used, but it was so perfect because it really was a phrase that would make sense to people, right? About keeping your body in balance. I just don't remember the actual specific wording for it, but it was really kind of the perfect way, because the endocannabinoid system gets very confusing for people when you start talking about anandamide and CB1 and CB2 and these different chemicals and how the neurons fire and move things around, and it gets complicated. So we really need to find a way to make it super simple for people to realize how important it is.
Let me ask you something, okay?
Mhm.
This endocannabinoid system, have they known about it all of our life, like since way back?
No.
Is it been, or is this something that they've just recently figured out with the whole weed thing?
It was Dr. Raphael Michelin, who they call the grandfather of cannabis. Basically, he was the first really serious cannabis researcher. And I think it was around 1963 or 64 that he discovered the endocannabinoid system. And then, of course, study from there and that. So what Damien's saying is since the 70s, yeah, it could be possible that the first studies were published then about this. But yeah, that was it. And we asked Dr. Harris when he was on. That was one of the questions I asked him specifically.
I think I remember it now that we're talking about it again.
How important is the endocannabinoid system in maintaining overall balance and in ensuring that the other systems within the body work properly? And he said it was a paramount system. It was super important to have your endocannabinoid system in balance.
You know what I feel bad for?
See, endocannabinoids are what your body produces, and phytocannabinoids, like Damien put into the question, phytocannabinoids are the cannabinoids that are made from the cannabis plant. So there are two different types of cannabinoids there. So one is a natural one that's produced by your body, endo, and phyto are cannabinoids that come in from an outside source, such as cannabis.
Huh. Very interesting.
Yeah. But it's really important. And
I'm glad I let you take that question and not me, because I would have never been able to answer that one.
Well, it's kind of a shame, right? Because like Dr. Harris said, they're only teaching it in less than 20% of medical schools currently. Anything about the ECS.
Right. And it's so sad that unfortunately, fortunately, but unfortunately, dude that you just talked about, I'm not going to try to kill his name, but that doctor guy who did the discovery.
Raphael Michelin. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. The Michelin guy.
Yep.
Yes. He luckily, thank God he found it in the 60s or 70s, but all those people before that who weren't using or couldn't use or didn't know anything about this endocannabinoid system and how unbalanced they must have been. And even us still to this day, we're still fighting the fight. And that's why we're here to fight the fight. But, it's, hopefully, fortunately, hopefully for the future, it'll be better for the people. That's the goal, I guess.
Well, the more they start teaching the doctors about the importance of this particular system in maintaining balance or homeostasis. Doctors, just by sheer nature of what they've chosen to do for a profession, care about the wellness of the individuals that they come into contact with. So once they're
they seem to be caring people.
Well, that's what they do, right? And they take a Hippocratic oath in order to do no harm and to really try to provide the best care possible to patients. And I think that once the schools start to teach them that this system, the ECS, if this system is continuously active, then the chance of your body falling out of balance and then getting cancer or getting diabetes or getting some of these other things that come in, and this might be a reason, like Dr. Harris said, why the incidence of type 2 diabetes is much, much lower in habitual cannabis users.
Right. Like I was just going to say.
Because the endocannabinoid system helps maintain that balance. That might be also why cannabis is good for general wellness or as a preventative medicine, right? To include it into your regimen. Instead of waiting until you're sick, start using it as a regular part of your lifestyle, and then perhaps you may be preventing possible conditions from arising into the future. That remains to be seen because there's just not enough study, right? They're not focusing on it, and they're probably not going to focus on it because it costs a lot of money, and cannabis industry doesn't have the money to invest.
I have an interjection here.
Yep.
Before we go on to Damien's next question. So you said that these doctors took a hypocritical oath to treat us.
The Hippocratic oath, I think they call it.
Hippocratic oath.
Yeah.
Hypocritical.
Not hypocritical. That would be.
It's kind of hypocritical if you listen to what I'm about to say, because they took an oath to help us, but meanwhile they won't give us this medicine on a regular basis that they know is good and know.
But
that
they
can
don't
help
know it's good. That's the problem.
They know.
Because
They know.
Nobody's teaching them.
They know.
Well, they may know the talk on the street, right? Because that's what it is for the most part right now. It's talk on the street. It's a lot of the scientific side of things are more observational, right? From talking with people who've used cannabis to deal with certain conditions and things like that. They're not actually clinical trials. There are clinical trials that have been conducted, but they're not doing it live through scientific method.
I'm going to ask everybody from here on out, if you're a member of WTHC, a friend, a family member of WTHC, that you have to be open with your doctors from now on. No more lying. If you smoke weed, tell them I smoke fucking weed.
Yeah.
You can't tell them, you can't pretend like you don't. You used to pretend like you don't because we were afraid that we were going to get in trouble, but they've been bashing it in our heads for however long that it was bad, but now we know it's not bad, and we need to tell our I mean, I go to my doctors and I tell them straight out, I will take weed before I take any of your fucking pills, straight up, and that's the way I am, and unfortunately I still have pills, and because they're like, you need to take this pill, but it's not going to mix with your meds, it's not going to mix with your weed, so I feel safe taking them, but
at this point, there's no scientific evidence that shows that cannabis is the cure for anything.
Right.
But there's plenty of evidence that shows that it can alleviate certain aspects of medical conditions depending on what they are. So that's the part, and you should talk to your doctor anyway, because if you're using cannabis and you have other medications that are part of your regimen, you need to know if there's any potential for interaction, if the cannabis, like certain things like grapefruit juice can make medications ineffective and things like that.
I don't drink grapefruit juice ever. Not
Yeah,
that I like
so
it
there's
either,
the potential. So it's
all of my pills say don't drink grapefruit juice and stay out of the sun. Yeah. Read his questions because that's way too much reading, and I have sunglasses.
So Damien says, so with knowing which strain of RSO, I'm saying RSO because a lot of people look for it for major pain, absolutely, that you're introducing to your system would be best. So from my understanding from talking with people who've used RSO, whether it's for cancer, whether they're dealing for pain, it's indicas. Now, not necessarily a specific indica strain, but the fact that the strains that are used to make the RSO are best suited as indicas. So you could use 2 or 3 different strains in there, and that could be beneficial because the more strains that you introduce into that manufacturing process, the more actual terpenes, cannabinoids, flavonoids that you're going to get, because all different strains have, they may have similar cannabinoids, like they might all have some myrcene or some beta-caryophyllene or pinene, but they'll be in different ratios. Yeah.
Didn't our friend Chardell say that when she went up into the woods to meet her oil guys, that she would use 6 or 7 different strains to make her RSO. So because she would grab the different ones that she felt were helping her with her symptoms or whatever she needed. Yeah. So that's definitely something that, let me ask you a question now that we're talking about RSOs. I mean, and then I see that pain is a major helper. RSOs are good for pain, I say. This is all right. So like maybe I should be on an RSO.
Well, for you, it's interesting because you don't respond to edibles. And RSO is an edible.
Right. I feel like I've tried an RSO. That's the stuff I put on the gummy bear, right? And it didn't do shit for me.
So, it may not be effective. There's no harm in trying it. But if you've already pretty sure that edibles are not something that are effective for you, then that experiment might just cost you money that will never give you a result.
Do you think that your how would I say this? Your metabolical combined body system, whatever. If like, all right, so let's say it in layman terms, because I don't know the medical term. The guy that uses this puppet is a big guy. Do you think that if weight loss or something to that effect would affect the way edibles he takes in edibles, or is it something that he did throughout his life that has affected his kidneys or his liver, right? That
Yeah.
is it something that I've done, all the beer drinking all my life, that now my liver doesn't work appropriately? Is it something I
No,
can fix? Can I get an injection in my liver and say, come on, work?
no, I don't think so, right? Because I'm a big guy like you're a big guy. I'm over 300 pounds. I'm 6'3". I'm a
Right,
big guy. And believe me, there was a large portion of my life that I was a heavy drinker and a heavy drug user other
too.
than cannabis
Me
too.
too. Me too.
And I still respond extremely well to edibles, and in small doses at 40 milligrams, I'm really, really comfortable. So I don't think that it's anything to do with a previous lifestyle decision or your body mass index
Yeah,
or
that's
anything
what
like
I
that.
was.
I think it's more along the lines of what Little Boxes was talking about, an enzyme that blocks the uptake for some reason.
How do I get rid of that enzyme? I don't like them.
Well, I don't know. I
I'm
haven't
out
done
of
any
here.
research about that, so I really couldn't
Let's
say.
start researching that.
But I can look
Let's
at
start.
it and see, you know what I mean? And it probably would make a really interesting blog post, right, for people who don't respond to edibles.
Right.
So it's
Right.
something that I should keep on my radar and look at a little
Yeah,
deeper
write
at some
write
point.
that shit down. Write that
Yeah.
down.
So Damien says they know that's how they started the pills that we take today. They tried to replicate it by using a CB1, CB2 receptor, but they can't replicate nature's molecules. No, and that's the problem, right? Is that you have Sativex, you have Marinol, you have a few different synthetic THC medications out there,
Mm-hmm.
but cannabis has been proven to be the most
Expensive.
beneficial as a full plant extract. That's why our is so beneficial. We talked with Dr. Harris about this, and I said to him, in your opinion, is it better to use isolated compounds such as THC distillate or CBD isolate, or in the States, you really have access to CBG isolate, CBC, CBN. You can buy them all as isolated compounds because they fit within the Farm Bill, the 2018 Farm Bill. So my theory is that we can replicate any particular strain of cannabis into a different form by taking your certificate of analysis from that particular strain and then combining terpenes and isolated cannabinoids to recreate that strain in, let's say, an oil or in a tincture or in a capsule, so that people don't actually have to be able to find that strain on the market, because it's difficult, right? Strains come in and out of flavor. So let's say, as you talked about earlier, Purple Kush. Purple Kush was a huge strain 10 years ago. But then Chinese growers came in growing for profit, and they really damaged the reputation of that strain. So it lost
That's what's probably
popularity.
happened to my kosher tangy.
Well, that's it. It lost popularity in the marketplace because somebody came in and really destroyed its reputation. Now, if you were a medical user that found that only Purple Kush worked for you, if you were sourcing it from this black market segment that was really just in it for money, then you may not have been getting the proper effect from it. And then because of the damage it
You were
did,
getting Purple Push.
then passionate cultivators and really medically minded cultivators would have moved away from that strain because there was really no demand for it any longer. So if you end up in a situation like that, I've always thought that we can replicate any particular strain because we have access to isolated terpenes, we have access to isolated flavonoids, and we can get all the cannabinoids in isolated forms also. But as I posed that question to Dr. Harris, he said that in his experience, it's full plant medicine. It's the full plant that gives the best result. And that's one of the reasons that it'll never get one of those DIN numbers, drug identification numbers, because they can't isolate the specific compound, because it's a mix of compounds that actually works, right? So that's a problem.
Yes, problem. Commercial. This This is wrap it up, okay? When we're doing this, if you see me doing this,
Come
on, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Let's go. I got to do a commercial, all right? That's our new signal. So when you see me doing this, let's wrap it
Just
up.
tell me.
Talker.
I ain't always looking.
Talker. All right. Anyway, here we go. We'll be right back. You're hanging with the hippie and DoktorHigh.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the
100% right, Damien. Because it's the precursor to CBGA, is the precursor to THCA, which is the precursor to THC. So
Let's hear what everyone did this weekend.
You're 100% right.
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least
I was
100
going to
years
agree
old.
with him. Yes.
My mom said
yes,
I must have said
100%
record or
right.
something. And then we went down by a
I'm
stream
going to get to
and
the
pushed up
juicing when
on
we're
this
done the commercial.
huge rock and saw all the
Yeah, I figured
little
you
minnows
would.
swimming
'Cause
around
that's
way below
definitely
us.
something
And
that
then I
like
rescued my little brother
people
from an
should learn
evil
about
slug
anyway.
king
I
who
think
was
that's a
guarding him
great
in the bush
idea,
forest.
especially
And
like
my
our
sister
friend
and I ran
Lori.
back to our super twig forest.
Yeah, but it's
And then we all laid out and told stories until it got
it's
dark.
not
And the
an
Big Dipper
easy
let us
thing
all
to
the
do
way
because you have to have access to a lot of material to do it.
Where were you, Jill?
Yeah, we went to the
That's
forest.
got to be fresh.
It's not that far away.
I think
Anyone
Damien
want to come
has
this
a lot of
weekend?
material.
Oh, Damien would have access to running
Ask your parents to take you and your friends
running a
to the forest
dispensary.
this week and find the
You know,
fun
he's gotta be
adventurous you.
connected to the
It's
growers
closer than you
for
think.
station land,
Check
so-
out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by
Right.
the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Are you in the Owensville or Middletown, New York area? Revamp your space with Collins Paints Ltd. Ugly walls? Let Collins Paints Ltd add a splash of color to your world. Collins Painting is a veteran-owned and operated business. They can transform your space to whatever your heart desires. Say goodbye to the boring beige and hello to possibilities of bright and vibrant colors. The Collins Painting team are a group of skilled professional painters who will turn your vision into reality. Call Collins Paint Ltd today to get a fast and easy quote. Available Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturdays, 9
You have
a.m.
the
to
same
5
last name.
Yeah, I was thinking how ironic.
8176.
Say bye-bye to bottled water. Holistic Health Water has certified medical-grade water ionizers that make 7 types of water, including healthy alkaline. There's a 5-micron filter that lasts up to a year, and each machine lasts 25 to 30 years. Simply attach to your faucet or install under your sink. Even get a mineral spa unit for your shower. Go to ownyourwater.org to get a free ebook. Plus, pay for any machine in full and get an extra filter free. Change your water and change your life. Ownyourwater.org.
WTHC. Happy 420 to Cape Verde.
Look.
We smoke up the pot, single day. If you're ever in need, we smoke lots of weed, single day. It seems like all I ever talk about is smoking weed, but I know you like it too. And my bag don't have a seed, so I'm motivated singing songs and puffing lots of cannabis. I've been to Amsterdam a time or two, and hallelujah for it. Cheap double bubble gum and lots of cream, Moroccan hash, purple power, yellow gab. I love the juicy fruity grass. If you want answers on the positive effects of sticky green, just hang with me, and in one day we'll smoke more than you've ever seen. Hold on when it's hot, we smoke lots of pot, single day. If you're ever in need, you know we smoke lots of weed, single day. Puffing trees and singing songs, rolling blunts and packing bongs, single day. So if you plan on stopping by, you can plan on getting high, single day. And you know it, clap your hands. If you're lifted and you show it, clap your hands.
every single day, every single day. If you're ever you know it's a glass of weed every single day, every single day. I've been drinking, singing songs, running back and bones every single day, every single day. So when you come stopping by, why don't get by every single day, WTHC. Good afternoon and good morning to everybody out there. Thank you so much for being here and hanging with us. That was Muck Sticky with Every Single Day. I can't wait. I'm going to be dancing to that shit this weekend. Woo, woo. It's going to be great. I'm so freaking excited. Anyway. All right. Back to the questions. It's been great. Thank you guys so much for the questions today.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. So David was talking about juicing.
Yeah.
Juicing is great if you're looking to get some of the medicinal benefit of cannabis without the high, right? So if you work during the daytime and you're using cannabis as medicine to make a juice in the morning, that you can mix spinach, kale, apple, blueberries, whatever it is, into a juicer and include the cannabis in there too, and you'll get the THCA and a very small amount of THC in there, and you won't get high. But two kind of problems there. The first one is, in order to juice cannabis, you have to be a cultivator because you need fresh plant material in order to extract the juice from it. And if you're not cultivating, then you're not going to have access to the volumes. That's why I was able to have doctors write prescriptions for 30, 50, 80 grams a day for medical patients, because juicing was the approach, right? And once you mentioned to the doctors the intention was to juice, then they understood that you needed a large volume of cannabis in order to be able to juice. Now, this was a question I also brought up with Dr. Harris about juicing and THCA. I asked him if the therapeutic benefit was the same that way, and he said that it isn't, in his opinion, quite the same. The THCA doesn't have the same impact as the THC on the body because it doesn't convert properly and activate the receptors quite the same way. Although there isn't a ton of research that's been done, and he was clear to point that out, so he wasn't 100% sure, but he felt that it was still more beneficial THC as opposed to THCA. But yeah, juicing is great. Like the way you described it there, it doesn't, no decarboxylation. You don't lose the carbolic acid on the chain. So, it doesn't get you high for sure. And the CBG is correct, because you do have to harvest the plants young like that. And most cultivators just won't do it because there's no money in it. Cannabis is sold by weight, right? So weight is what you're after as a cultivator, or the finest product if you're cultivating for personal use. So yeah, and I appreciate all the questions today, Damien. It's been fantastic. Greatly appreciated for sure. Did you go to sleep on me?
I'm trying to get something and I can't quite reach it.
So I just popped into an article right now. You remember Dr. Harris was talking to us about Dr. Sulak.
Yes.
Who was the doctor that conducted his training in order to be certified for.
The dude that gave him the 4-hour class.
Yeah, exactly. This article here, he's talking about, he says, with 13 years of clinical experience in treating thousands of patients with cannabis, Dr. Sulak is internationally recognized educator in the field of cannabinoid medicine. He is also chief medical officer of Healer, a company he co-founded in 2015, where he offers educational programs for clinicians and others in the cannabis industry, as well as complimentary online educational programs geared towards patients. Now, he says, it looks like there's something very interesting happening in the low and ultra low dose range that may have physiologic mechanisms of actions that are distinct from what we are seeing in the more moderate to high dose range. In his presentation, he explains the phenomenon known as hormesis, where most toxins taken at a low enough dose do not have a toxic effect overall, but manage to upregulate some cell defenses and repair mechanisms. So it's like a vaccine, right? When they give you a vaccine, they're actually vaccinating you with what you're being vaccinated against, right? So you get a COVID vaccine, they're actually injecting COVID into you. You get a flu vaccine, they're injecting the flu. You know, but they do it at such a low dose that your body has the opportunity to build up its defenses against it.
So we're trying to build up defenses against weed. Wait, I don't like that.
Well, no, but what he's saying is that in an ultra low dosing, that it can have a positive effect on the cells, cell defense and repair mechanisms. He says through this hormetic effect, you can use toxic compounds to get a net benefit for health and healing. For example, take a very low dose of toxin and gradually over time, you may become more resilient to accidental exposure to a high dose of the same toxin. You've been upregulating the pathways you need to deal with the exposure.
Have a good day, sir. Thank you so much for everything. You guys are amazing. We love you, Damon.
Thanks, Damien. Have a great day. Good luck out there in Burnt Church. Let's hope that
yeah, be safe. Be safe up there,
that
guys.
Hurricane Lee bypasses you, you know, and just makes a turn back out into the Atlantic. Let's just keep our fingers crossed for that, for sure. So the case for ultra low dose cannabis therapy.
I don't like it. I don't like the sounds of it. I don't like what you're talking about. I think that they're already trying to say, hey, listen, lower doses, it's okay, but you don't need. So now they're going to be like, no, you don't need to get 10 grams. You need a quarter of a hit and you'll be all right.
It depends on what you're talking about, right? Because the studies that I've seen about cannabis and Alzheimer's, the results were really the best at a dose of 0.8 milligrams, less than 1 milligram.
An hour, a day? I mean,
yeah, a day, I suppose, yeah. But the dose was 1 milligram.
I don't see how that's going to help with the quality of life.
Well, it's not meant to get high, right? We're not talking about getting high. We're not talking about a psychological effect. We're talking about physiological effects.
Well, yeah, okay. We're talking about both. When I talk about quality of life, I don't know if we were confused.
Right,
here.
but quality of life doesn't necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of people who would love to improve their quality of life without feeling the high. Right? Not everybody wants to be high. A lot of people don't find it comfortable.
Crazy people.
You know, I wouldn't say crazy. I'd just say people that need to use cannabis as medicine as opposed to cannabis for recreation.
All
you
right,
know what I
I'll
mean?
just shut up.
Well, no, it's your opinions are your opinions, and of course they're as valid as any other opinion.
No, but you know what I mean. I just like I don't want them to regulate and be like, hey, now we're seeing results in lower amounts of weed, so now we're not, you know, everybody's gonna be like, oh well, we don't, you know, I don't think that would even affect recreational, you know, that's. But I'm saying like these people that are in the nursing homes that are sick or in the hospital sick and in pain and moaning and crying, those are the ones that I'm thinking of, you know, the ones that can't get that pain relief, but you can with
But
this.
they may not be the ones for which ultra low dose cannabis therapy is.
And I know you're getting on. It could be for Alzheimer's or for whatever.
Yeah, it could be for you know, different. There are different.
I immediately went thinking recreational and not medical. And I should have been thinking medical. And I apologize.
So this is what Dr. Sulak says. He considers anything less than 0.5 milligram per day to be ultra low dose of cannabinoids for an adult. In his practice, daily doses total oral cannabinoids range from a 0.01 milligram per kilogram of body weight to 100 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, or from 0.7 to 7,000 milligrams daily for a 70 kilogram adult. The 7,000 milligrams daily is massive.
That is not cutting it off.
7
That is definitely not.
grams
That
of
answers my
liquid.
question right there. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really all depends, I suppose, on what condition you
Yeah, and
are
like
trying to treat.
for us Americans, what is 70 kilograms? Is that like 400 pounds?
2.2 pounds per kilogram, so 140 plus 70 by 5, so maybe 165 pounds or so.
Okay, so
Something
and
in
then
that
what
range.
if you're a bigger guy like us?
Half of us.
Yeah, so what if we're bigger like us? Then they would give us
Well, based upon
14,000.
his formula, we'd be doing 14 grams a day
Yeah,
of
okay. I'm all
uh,
right with that.
of distillate. You know what I mean?
I'm okay with that. All
But
right.
that could be like for
He's a genius, that guy. I like him.
that might be in extreme cases like with cancer, so like a glioblastoma.
Right. And I keep, like I said, yeah. And I went, like I said, I went to recreational. My mind, like I said, all my life I was recreational until they said, "Hey, you can be medical," and I was like, "Oh, let me go see." And then Dr. Harris was like, "You're overqualified. You're crazy as a balloon. You play with puppets. You're married to Mrs. Hippie. I don't know how you deal with that. You have 2 kids. You poor bastard. Here's a lot of weed."
Yeah, there we go.
And
But
now
everybody's got their own
better.
course, right? And has to, but once again, because cannabis is so individualized, you kind of have to chart your own course. And that's the problem, is that people who are inexperienced with the plant are new coming to it and don't have any knowledge at all. How can they find their way through to get
Without us?
Yeah, like that's the whole thing. How can they find the path if they don't understand the map?
It goes right back to me in that same story, and I'm only going to say the quick version. The vape shop, people coming in, not knowing what they're buying, older folks, our age and older, never smoked before. My doctor just said I'm allowed to have marijuana. What can I get? Oh, here's a beautiful, big, huge bong. It'll cost you $300, and I'll get 100 of it because I sold it today. Yay. Meanwhile, the lady's in her 80s, and she's like, "Okay, I got a new bong." And then she's back an hour later saying, "I can't breathe because my damn lung just fell out."
And that's just poor ethics, right?
Right.
That's what that comes down to, is improper ethical consideration.
Well, if they would pay their employees appropriately instead of $4 an hour and whatever you make in commission for the day, 10%,
Well,
10% of whatever you make.
I'm going to tell anybody out there listening that if you want to make money in your life, the cannabis industry is really probably not the place to be. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be in it for the passion and the love, because there's not much money in it right now. I mean, that may change one day, but at the moment,
your days of making money on cannabis are just about over. I mean, regular drug dealing days.
The only ones who are making the big money are the government, especially in Canada, right? The provinces and the federal government, they're the ones making the big money, because they're getting, a 25% slice of every product when it changes hands. You know what I mean? So they're making $2.50 on every $10 worth of transaction in the cannabis space, and the businesses. I'll give you a quick idea of how it works, right? So in Canada, a licensed producer can't sell to the retailer. So as a retail store, I can't contact Tweed, or I can't contact Freedom Cannabis, or I can't contact Canopy Growth or Tilray, and I can't say, okay, I want to buy 100 units of this, 50 units of that, 75 units of this for my store. You can't do that. The only place that can purchase cannabis from a licensed producer is a provincial distribution outlet run by the government. So the only sale from an LP goes to a government distribution site, or it's sold to the province, like the Ontario Cannabis Service or the Alberta Cannabis System, or whatever it is. So all the cannabis goes to one point of distribution. Now, all the stores in that province have to look at what's available and submit a request to the distribution center. And it's like a lottery system, because there's not enough product to go around, especially when you're getting product that's coming out at 28, 29, 30, 31%. Of course, every store wants to stock that, because not only can they get top dollar for it, but it's what the customers want, because they've been misled to think high THC is priority number one. So they all want that. But I mean, where we had a big operation, but of a specific single harvest, there might only have been 80 kilograms available. You know what I mean? Which would be in the neighborhood of, 170 pounds, let's say. And if you have 5,000 distribution networks trying to get a piece of that, then not everybody can get it. So it's a messed up system. And basically, if we charged $1 per gram when it went to the province, when the province sells it to the dispensary, they would sell it to the dispensary for $1.08 a gram. They take 8% right away on that transaction as it goes through, right? A handling fee, basically. So they'd take that $1 gram, they'd sell it to the dispensary for $1.08, and then the dispensary puts 30% profit on top of that. So the dispensary now sells that 1 gram for, let's say, what's 30% of $1.08? 30 cents plus another. So the dispensary would be selling that cannabis for somewhere in the range of, let's say, $1.54, $1.55, right? But then when you buy it, you pay the $1.55 plus 15% in tax. Or I think it's higher. I think it's probably like 21 or 22% because of the sin tax. So the tax goes on top of that. So the government makes its 8% on the transaction between the producer and the retailer, and then it gets its money coming back from every sale in the tax revenue. So the government is the one making all the money because the retailer, out of his 30% markup, has to pay his staff, has to pay his rent, has to pay his utility bills. So when it's all said and done, if they're making 3 or 4% as an actual profit, and how long are people going to stay in business for that, right? Restaurants make 15% at least, and a lot of other businesses make anywhere from 15 to 30% as a net profit margin. So, the cannabis industry is really suffering because of the greed, and it's governmental greed for the most part. So Patricia says, back in the 90s, $800 a pound with 150 pounds was a good amount of money. Nowadays, yeah. Well, back in the 90s, if you were finding at $800 a pound, you were rocking because
I remember 1,500, 1,600 a pound.
Oh, I can remember 2,000, 2,400. I can remember weed coming from British Columbia at 3,000, 3,200 a pound. When I was in the States, of course, I met a lot of people from New York and Pennsylvania and Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
You're in charge. I'm running to the restroom.
And these guys wanted to maintain contact with me for when I came back to Canada, because what I could get for $2,000 in Canada, they could turn around and sell in New York City for $6,000 a pound. So at $800 a pound in the 90s, you were rocking. I mean, you were really, really finding pretty good prices back then. I didn't see $800 a pound until probably 2017, 2018, and the market just dropped, right? The bottom fell out. As legalization came, it just really dropped the value of cannabis out of the marketplace, and it's probably crushed a lot of legacy growers because there's just no money in it anymore. In Canada, I can go to the dispensary and I can buy ounces for $80 all day long. You know what I mean? So it's a pretty tough game, the cannabis game. That's why when Hippie and I were talking the other day about, where would you go if you had an investment to make in cannabis, I would invest either in the supply chain to the producers or in the testing side of it, into a laboratory for the testing, because all cannabis sold in this country has to be tested.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, you're 15 back then. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine outdoor cultivators, like guys who are growing, 5,000, 6,000 plants would probably be able to function at that kind of rate, right? Because they don't have the same expenditure as an indoor cultivation system. Outdoors, you're using nature to do your production, so you can do it quite inexpensively. But as soon as you move to the indoor side of things, and you have, rent to consider, and you have electricity, and electricity is a killer. When you're running those lights.
I remember being a kid. I remember being a teen, and people that I was getting from my growers, I guess you would call them, because some of them did grow, and I remember them bitching all the time about how big the electricity bill was.
Oh, yeah.
I remember people getting busted because of the big lights in their house and the snow melting off the top of their house, and people being caught because they would fly over and see no snow on top of your house.
Exactly. And to run 1,000-watt light bulb, the last time I did that calculation, which would have been probably 7 years ago or so, it was about $15 a month for each light. And a good sized cannabis grow is 100 lights, so you got $1,500 a month just to cover
electricity,
your lighting bill, right? And that's not to run your air conditioners. That's not to run your pumps. It's not to run your fans.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, all those things. The air conditioning probably
WTHC radio.
Yeah, but all those things add up, right? But just the lights alone were costing you $1,500 a month.
Yeah, but you got to have WTHC radio on so your plants grow better.
That's right. But in Quebec, it was kind of cool because when we started cultivating under the ACMPR, when I ran the 4,000 square foot facility, we actually got discounted rates from the hydro because we were conducting medical cultivation. So we were able to apply to the hydro provider, and we actually got a reduced rate over what the average citizen would get.
Let me ask you a question. I don't know what you're talking about right now, but you mentioned the word hydro. So did you grow hydro? Were you a part of that hydro era, like the hydroponics and all that? Or?
Well, hydroponic is basically anything that's not grown in soil.
That's it. That's the only difference.
Yeah, because hydroponic.
And why was the fucking weed so strong?
Well, it's because you're actually feeding just straight nutrients and water. There's no dirt there, so you're using cocoa. You're using raw.
Hydroponics the way to go? I mean, ultimately,
hydroponics gives you a lot more control in some ways, but you have growers on both sides of that argument, right? Some will never grow in rock wool or in cocoa coir or anything like that. Some will always stay with dirt, right? Especially organic growers like to grow with dirt, and then they'll use fish emulsion, they'll use bat guano, they'll use manure,
worm shit,
worm castings. They'll use those sort of things to feed the plant as opposed to going out and buying a jug of nutrients, right? They'll make their own teas, right? Like some guys I know maintain fish aquariums and use the water from the fish aquarium to feed the plants, right? To cycle it through because of all the fish waste inside of there has a lot of
it makes sense
that are beneficial to the plant.
By the way, Mrs. Hippie said, nanny poo poo. I told you that the eggshells would be good. Thanks. I had to tell her.
That's your organic process, but when you're growing in hydro, it's just different. That's all. I've seen rhino grow in a fish tank. Yeah, you can do it for sure. There are plenty of different ways to get the nutrients to your plant. So, and that's really a difference. Hydroponics. Now you have different types of hydroponics. You have deep water culture, which is where you'd use a bucket and there's no support medium at all. It's basically a basket inside the bucket and the roots hang. It's like a slow moving river, and the roots are always submerged into that river as water moves past and takes the nutrients it wants. But we talked about that system before, and it's got a risk factor because if you lose power, even for a short period of time, you can no longer generate the oxygen because you have to oxygenate that water because the roots need oxygen also. And once your oxygen, your air stone or your oxygen supply is lost to the water, your plants suffer very, very quickly. So that's a downside to deep water culture is if you lose electricity, then you can lose a crop, Yeah.
So what I was going to say is when hydro, now has hydro been around forever? Hydroponics? I mean, that came out in the 90s, right? I mean, is that when people started doing it? Like in the late 80s, early 90s?
I'm going to say probably the 80s people started playing with it. As soon as you started seeing that really vibrant, bright green weed,
Yeah, because
That
that's
was
when I
that was
told
the
you
high kick.
hydro almost fucking made me quit smoking weed. It was that bad. I guess it was a sativa on top of whatever. It was a very, very strong sativa, and it was like one of the first times I ever had purchased hydro.
Yeah.
And I bought an ounce of it or a quarter ounce of a half ounce of it. I spent quality money on that shit. We were going away on vacation and I wanted some good weed. So I said, and then I got there, we got to the vacation spot and I smoked my first bowl of it. And I was out on the back stoop having an anxiety attack the whole fucking trip. The rest of the vacation, it was horrible. Horrible.
Well, that's when THC started to ramp up, right? When they come into the hydros, because guys are becoming more sophisticated. Then they started looking at, at traits and crossbreeding to bring up the THC level and to eliminate the CBD, right? That was really the goal, was elevate THC, eliminate CBD. So, and then of course with the higher THC, you have more things like Dr. Harris was talking about, schizophrenia. Things like that can be related to super high THC. Yes, I smoked skunk weed and almost slept for the rest of my life because it was the same. That was so good.
Yeah, I wish it would have been an indica because, I've had indica hydro for a while, but I feel like hydro's disappeared now. It's like it's not even a thing anymore. It came and it went.
No, they just don't talk about it as hydro anymore because almost everybody grows that way.
It's got a name now. They name it something instead.
It's almost all hydro because that's the problem, right? When you grow in dirt, you can't really do large scale cultivation in dirt because you have a couple.
You're telling me like my dispensary companies, the growers that are growing for they're growing all in hydroponic type
Most likely.
ways?
Most likely.
Really?
Because
I'm picturing what you were doing. You guys weren't hydroponic, were you?
Yep, we were.
You were.
Yep.
I need to pay attention when I'm over here.
Yep. Now we did use dirt for mother plants. We use dirt, but for the most part, in a large environment like that, you can't because the dirt only has a one-time use, right? You can't reuse it.
What happens if your power goes out in that situation?
Well, it's different because we used rock wool cubes. So the rock wool was like almost like fiberglass in a weird way, almost like insulation, right? It had that same type of texture to it.
But it had oxygen.
Yeah, but basically the roots would grow throughout the medium. So we'd start off in a very small cube, like a 1-inch cube, which is where the clones would go. Mm-hmm. And then once those clones had well rooted, that the roots were coming out of the cube, that's when we would transplant. So then we would go into a 4-inch cube that had a hole pre-cut in the center. So we could take the clone and we could plug it right into that 4-inch cube.
Okay.
And then for the third transplant, when they were ready to go into the flowering system, the flowering room, we had 4-foot slabs of rock wool, and we would cut X's, 4 X's in the top of the slab so we could peel back the plastic because it comes sealed in plastic, right? We'd cut the bottom of the slab, cut the plastic open so the water could drain. And then we would fold back those 4 little triangles and place the 4-inch cube directly onto the rock wool slab so that when the roots came out of the 4-inch cube, they went into the slab instead. So, and those would get fed 4 times a day, right? The water would be put to them 4 times a day.
Not running water, like running all day.
System, right? No, they had drip emitters. Okay. So basically each plant had 2 lines that came into it. And the feed would go like for 5 minutes, right? So for 5 minutes, they'd be fed and the feed would stop.
Gotcha.
And then 4 hours later, 6 hours later, feed again, 5 minutes, stop.
Very interesting.
So they always had that cycle of feed, dry, feed, dry, feed, dry, feed, dry. But then you can control everything, right? And you don't have to worry about what comes in your dirt. The other problem with when you're doing large scale cultivation, that's a lot of dirt to fill 5-gallon pots.
Yes.
Right. So you'd have to have.
I did 25 pots last year, 5-gallon pots, 25 of them.
Yeah.
Man, I was paying out the ass for soil.
Well, that's it, right? And then you got to mix it all.
And then you got and I didn't even get like rat shit or whatever,
Mhm.
sperm shit and any of that. I just kind of grew it in soil.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could see it being very expensive.
Yeah, we had a big machine where I worked because we did do some dirt, but like I said, they were for mother plants and for pheno hunting. So when we were planting 50
Well,
seeds
now-
of a particular strain to find the best plant, we did those in dirt,
Right.
and they were hand watered.
And I know you say you did a lot of clones, but didn't you
Yeah.
have to have men plants grow somewhere or something so you could
What's
get
that?
seeds? Male plants going
No.
anywhere.
No,
Or
we
you could
bought
just get your
seed
seeds and
stock.
clones from people.
Yeah, we bought seed stock. Like they had about 50,000 seeds when I worked there. I was the seed filing cabinet was actually part of my
Just
responsibility to keep the
seeds.
inventory on it, right? So we had a full filing cabinet with about 50,000 seeds altogether, all broken down by specific strains.
Into like little packages.
Yeah, like packages of 50,
I
right?
don't want that. I don't want that job.
So
I don't mind counting the packages, but I don't want to put
Yeah.
them all in bags. No
well,
way.
what we would do is when we introduced a new strain, when we wanted to introduce a new strain, we would plant the 50 seeds. And we would grow those plants out, and we'd be looking at the characteristics of the plants, which ones are doing well, which ones weren't doing well. And then we would pick the 4 or 5 best plants, and they would go into the mother room. And those are the ones we would cut the clones for that would eventually populate the room. Because when we populated a room,
How
we
many
were-
clones can you get from a mother plant? I mean,
Depends how big the plant is.
right. So
Like we
when
had
I get
mothers
my
that were 6
9-foot
and 7 feet
plants,
tall. Yeah, like you could cut off let's say a plant that's 4 feet tall. You could easily cut 25 to 30 clones from a plant like that. But we
Right.
were cutting clones from 800 to 1,400 plants at a time. You know, like I would cut 1,000 clones in a day.
is my plant too young right now to cut
Yes.
anything off of it?
Yeah.
How long do I have to wait before it'll be able? Does it have to go into flowering before it's able to?
No, you don't want to take your clones in flower because the plant's already transitioned over, so it's genetically predisposed to continue to flower, and it doesn't have a root system to support it. So for you, you would cut your clones right before you're about to flip.
Okay. So in a
Yeah.
few weeks. In a few weeks.
Yeah, that's when you would cut them, and by then, from your plant, you should be able to cut maybe
I'm gonna
5.
tell you something.
Yeah.
I am gonna tell you something. I might be the greatest weed grower ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this plant looks gorgeous. I want to make love to it. I talk to it sexy every day, and I hit on her, and she's getting bigger and bigger and flourishing. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
they can grow an inch and a half a day easy.
Oh my goodness.
Under optimum conditions, they grow like weeds.
It's
If
crazy.
you trim it
It's-
right, it spit out a lot. Yeah, that's all about plant training and topping and all those kind of things. So
I don't have a
Chris
vault.
says, calm
You're
down
right.
out there. You ain't got the vault.
I don't have a vault. You're right. I don't have a vault, but man, this plant looks beautiful right now. I wish it was Monday so I could show you guys.
No,
Oh,
we'll see it after the weekend.
well, Tuesday, yeah, because I probably won't be here Monday. Remember that.
Picking it up, checking the weight.
Yep. I was just out there a little while ago. Checked the weight this morning before I turned the lights on. I checked the weight, made sure she felt good. She
Okay.
still feels heavy enough to keep her the way she is.
Oh, commercial.
Hi,
Custard
Corinza.
tarts, delicious. Good
Oh,
for the
yeah, I
body.
gotta do
Good
my
for the
commercial.
soul.
I got to do my commercial too. We'll be right back. You're hanging with the hippie and Dr. High.
Right now, our country feels divided, but
Hi,
there's a
Corinza.
place where people are coming
Pothead.
together.
I got to tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love has no labels, and
Tell
one
Christopher
small
we
step
said
are
hello.
helping
I was
people with
wondering why he
different
wasn't
political
here.
views, beliefs, and life experiences come
We
together.
were
to
feeling
come
shunned.
together, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so.
We did something wrong.
Yeah.
When people actually
Yeah, your
sit
boss was
down,
here for a
talk,
while,
and listen
chilling.
to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com
you were sitting right next to
one
him.
small step, you can listen to
know you're
amazing,
at work.
life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope.
I was concerned.
Take a step toward
I'm
bringing
also
our
concerned
country
about
and your
Donovan.
community
I haven't
together
seen
by having
him
the
or
courage
Tom
to start
today.
a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/one-small-step. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
What?
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With
Probably why we don't get to see
aceyourretirement.org, you
Donovan
can
very
get on track
often.
with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Mississippi, why don't we take a ride to Dauphin, PA today?
Dauphin? What's in Dauphin?
Bella's badass crystals.
Oh, but I thought you hang out with them on Facebook and on TikTok.
That's only on Mondays, Tuesdays, Saturdays, Sundays.
Yes, I did.
Today, I want to go there and pick up all my great finds.
That sounds like a great road trip. That's Bella's Badass Crystals on TikTok and Facebook, but you can also find them on the top of the mountain in Dauphin, PA.
They are
badass.
What up, yo? It's Muck Sticky, and I highly recommend you check out the Hippie and DoktorHigh show on Facebook and YouTube. Monday through Friday from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern, baby.
Discover the natural path to wellness at Tailored Herbs and Concentrates.
Herbs?
With a passion for holistic health, we are your trusted source for premium herbs and concentrates.
Wait a minute, do they have weed?
Our dedicated team is here to guide you on your wellness journey. Open 7 days a week, 10 to 10.
Yeah, I like that.
You have access to what you need when you need
Concentrates.
it most. Tailored Herbs and Concentrates is located at 2941 Highway 11, Burnt Church, New Brunswick, Canada. If you need assistance anytime,
I need assistance. I need weed.
Just call 506-871-4299. Tailored Herbs and Concentrates.
Where all the potheads go.
Where all the potheads there now working? Get over there. Get your weed. Everybody get over there. Hurry up. If you're up in that area, I recommend getting it because you guys got a big storm coming and you're going to want to have your flour or your medicine. Anyway, Dr. High, are you still there? Or are you frozen?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Just looking at the phone.
Yeah, we didn't freeze very much today. Pretty good.
No, we've had a couple of decent days like that, eh?
Yeah. It's almost over, and I don't get to play long because I got so much shit I got to do. What do you want to talk about? Huh?
Are you going to be previewing Muck Sticky's new song tomorrow?
I'm hoping he's going to give it to me today so that I can be playing it on the radio tomorrow. Yeah?
Nice.
But he's dropping it tomorrow, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, why don't we finish off with some of Garrett's questions?
All right.
Got 10 seasonal related cannabis questions for you, Doc. Pick 3 to try and stump the Doc. All right.
All right, number 1, number 7, and number 10.
Let's give it a whirl, and that's how we'll finish off today because we're just about at 2:00. So
yeah, I can stay a couple minutes, but I can't be. Don't give long explanations.
All right.
You're a talker.
Fire away, Garrett. I just feel that it takes as many words as it takes to
Oh no, I'm just kidding. No, absolutely. 1, 7, and 10. Those are the 3 that I want to stump Dr. High. 1, 7, and 10.
Hippie needs to pack.
Hippie needs to pack. Hippie needs to do laundry. Hippie needs to go to the dispensary. Hippie needs a lot of stuff to do. Hippie's not even doing an afternoon show today. Please tune in.
You don't need to do laundry. You don't need to pack, but you do need to go to the dispensary.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. I can wear what I'm wearing for 3 days. I ain't worried about that.
So the change in temperature during autumn affects cannabis cultivation. Number 1, as it gets colder, the plant goes into overdrive, and it increases cannabinoids during that time. Also, the change in temperature towards the end of the season can present some danger for powdery mildew because as it gets colder at night, the water stays on the leaves longer, and that provides an environment for the mildew to come in. But basically, the temperature change, it doesn't have anything to do with triggering the
I love you, Patricia.
photo period to go into flower because that's done by light cycle, but as it gets colder at night, the color of the plant may get more purple, and it also increases cannabinoid production.
Whoa, before we go any further, why is my leaves look a little like they got a little purple tinge to them? They look pretty. They're very vibrant and beautiful.
It would be too early for purple on a plant.
Is it too cold?
Not that, I mean, purple on a plant at the stage of your plant is something that you want to investigate further.
Well, that's
but
what I'm
as you
saying.
get closer to a harvest, right, with an outdoor plant,
Is it too cold? Maybe I need to put it away, bring it into this room now, and start getting it warmer.
As long as the roots are staying like 70 degrees,
the plant is
and
beautiful.
the plant's environment is 75, 78 degrees, then no,
we're fine right now.
Not too cold. You know, so it could be the signs of a bit of a nutrient, like where are the leaves turning purple?
It's not a bad purple. I'm telling you, they just look pretty. Like, see how the leaf behind you, like the main vein of each of the leaves has got like a little tint of purple in it. It's just beautiful.
Is it running up the stem also?
No, the
Not yet.
stem is thick and solid and beautiful.
But you're not seeing any purple vein on the stem yet?
No.
Okay.
No, I
We'll-
just think
we'll
that
keep an eye on it.
think that I'm a super duper grower. It probably had a lot to do with me crushing the roots right before I put it into the dirt. That now it's being so vibrant.
Maybe you bruised it.
Maybe
that's why it's getting some purple.
Got some black and blues. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Damn it.
So what's the actual answer to that question, Garrett?
Can you discuss the role of terpenes in autumn-colored cannabis leaves?
Actually, I think that it's not necessarily terpenes that cause the change of the cannabis leaves. It's more the flavonoids, and it's I don't know how to pronounce it. Cyanathins or something like that actually bring out the color, but I think that's more related to flavonoid than terpenes. Anthocyanins. I think that's the right word. I think that's what actually colors the leaves, but I'm not sure that there's a relationship there to terpenes. I think it might be more towards flavonoids.
And he said that you did a great job, very close to what you said, but it was way too long for him to type.
Yeah. So number 7 was a trick question, but I got it.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yeah, I knew it was
like
a trick question. That's why I picked that one. That's why I picked that one, because I knew it was a trick question, and you still got it.
All right, let's try number 10.
Number 10, and we got to go because I got to get to the dispensary.
Any specific environmental factors in autumn that contribute? Well, hermaphroditism can be caused by stress. So let's say that you get a frost one night of frost, that might trigger it.
It could turn it into a hermaphrodite just from getting cold.
Well, from a frost, perhaps, because a frost
But
actually.
this is before flowering or something like.
No, this is in flower.
I was gonna say once it turns to a certain stage, isn't it? It's too late.
No,
you can
it's
become a
never 100%.
hermaphrodite at any time.
Yeah, it can. It can switch pretty much at any time, and it usually is a plant stress relationship. So a couple of things that I could think of for autumn that could cause that would be a frost, because what happens with a frost is
Autumn
that
talks a lot.
the plant is full of cells, right? And the cells are full of water. And when that water freezes, it actually ruptures the cell. And the cell can't be repaired. It's then ruptured, right? So that causes a great deal of stress.
That's like an
The other
aneurysm.
might be water doesn't evaporate as quickly in cold temperatures. So that could also cause a stress on the plant. If you water it and that water evaporation doesn't occur quick enough, then those roots can be choked by not having access to oxygen. Is there any others I can think of for that?
Well, autumn might
Off the
talk a
top of my
lot.
head.
Autumn might talk a lot, and that would stress anybody out because I have a Mrs. Hippie who talks a lot and stresses me out.
Yeah. So yeah, it said it was stress. And number 2, temperature, which would be the frost. Number 3, light. I didn't consider that. Yeah, and pests. But I mean, pests can always be present. You have to be vigilant with pests. Outside, it's kind of hard to control pests. I used to use just a very couple of drops of water or a couple of drops of dish soap in water and spray the plant with that, and it tends to deter.
Am I going to be blowing bubbles when I smoke my weed?
No, because that only really missed the leaves, right?
Oh, okay.
And then it has two beneficial things because number one, it'll help combat powdery mildew. And secondly, it makes the leaf not so palatable to insects.
And if you use Dawn, it cuts grease out.
Grease, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't consider light because that's kind of a natural process. But yeah, you could get that. I imagine if you have
like
a lot of days that are really overcast and the plant doesn't get any light, it could cause additional stress too.
Well, I mean, I would think that, we're talking about outdoors growing, I would think, right now. But like the leaves change in the fall. So your leaves are going to change color in the fall.
Yeah.
It's just part of life.
That's it.
All right.
But thanks for the questions, Garrett. That was fun.
Very much
I enjoy those moments. Gives
Go
me it stretches my mind, and I like that. So yeah, I
might become an official segment, Gary. You're gonna have to be here every day.
The doctor.
The last 15 minutes of the show is gonna be Stump the Doctor part of the show, and then we'll do that. All right.
That's it.
I want to thank everybody out here on Live 365 and Tune In, and of course everybody here on Facebook and YouTube. You guys are freaking amazing. We love you guys. Thank you. Dr. High, of course, thank you so very much for everything you do for this show and for all the people out here. You're amazing. You help people every single day, and I can't wait. We're going away, so I will. We'll be here tomorrow, Friday, right? Tomorrow,
Monday.
Friday.
Let's have the show in my car. What kind of show?
We can have. Don't worry about the shows in the car on Monday. Don't worry about that.
Jeez. You guys are going to be all too burnt out from a weekend with Muck Sticky to have the energy to do a show in the car.
We'll talk.
It would be like that. Who's that comedian that driving around in cars with that comedian where all them celebrities go and sing songs?
What's his name, Michelle? Mrs. Hippie's here. He knows. She knows. The comedian who drives around with all the dudes in the car, and he brings up like Kevin Hart and Ice Cube, and he makes them laugh. Not Conan, the other redheaded dude.
The British guy, right?
Yeah, the British guy from England. Yeah, what's his name? James Corbin. Yeah, that's it. James Corbin. Yes, he's hilarious. Makes me laugh. Anyway, thank you guys so very much, Dr. High. I will see you tomorrow, sir, bright and early.
It's Friday.
All right. If you need to talk to me, call me on my phone, because if we want to talk about Al stuff, let me know. I'm going to be riding around, so I'll be all right. I can talk.
Well, yeah, for the moment, there's not much to say. I think we kind of got the gist of what's going on, but any information or update I get from him, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just send it to me or whatever, especially throughout the weekend when I'm not around. All right, everybody, love you guys. Have a great day.
Weekend, all.
We'll
stay
be here
safe
tomorrow.
and stay stoned.
Peace. You better be here tomorrow. Don't stop saying next weekend. So you know, have a great week. You just said have a great weekend. We'll be here tomorrow, bro.
Oh yeah, I'll be here tomorrow.
All right, bye.
Bye.